we have to remember, no matter how great it is. So we go through these 4 seasons, we go through winter. What's happening in winter? Everything's barren, everything dies, everything's dead. What's the goal of winter? To let things die. Hardest thing in the world for us to look at our business and go, what's not working? What's dead weight? What do I need to let go of? There's maybe not a lot of opportunity going on. There's a time for reflection on what's worked in the past and forethinking what's coming in the future. Spring, we are sowing seeds in our business, making the videos, making the calls, speaking, it's uploading stuff, it's shorts, it's all the things. So I have to make myself do that because I know that if I want to have a harvest, I've got to sow the seeds in my business. Summer is a chance to protect the crop you've planted. So this is when you're watering things, picking out the weeds, negativity, anything in your life that's kind of killing the things that you planted. Nurture it so that it grows. And then the fall, here's the thing. We all want a fall. I love the fall. It's my favorite season, but we can't live in a perpetual fall. Fall is the effect. Winter, spring, and summer are the cause. So we have 3 seasons of cause and 1 season of effect. What does that tell us? We have to work 3 times harder than what we expect to receive. And this is biblical as well. This is not new information. It's something that's been passed down for generations, something that's taught throughout all time. But I think for business, it's really important as well.
Welcome to the Alchemist Nation podcast. We are a community of business and real estate professionals who are on a shared mission to help every individual achieve financial freedom through right action, the right knowledge, and the right accountability. Join me, Andrew McMurray, and my co-host, Mitch Jaworski, as we find and interview those who have mastered wealth and who have a desire to share their wisdom with you. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Alchemist Nation podcast. And we're on a streak because we have, I think, our 3rd female guest in a row, which I love because too often these podcasts are male dominated. And my guest today is really someone that has experience and accomplishments that would take me an hour to rattle off. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet and tell you that she is an esteemed relationship and empowerment coach. She's a master NLP practitioner. She's the co-creator of the Love Yourself First Empowerment School and the Revolutionary Family Program. And like I said, I could go on and on and on, but we'll sum it up with she really helps people fostering like self-love for themselves and really just, with relationship complexities. So without further ado, Miss Heidi Rain, how are you? So glad to have you. Can't wait to get my mind blown over the next 45 minutes of this wonderful conversation.
That's great. I love like a no pressure, low pressure intro,
right?
Where it's like,
let's just list all the highlights. Now you have to live up to them.
Like bring your magic wand. Where's your magic wand? Where's your sword? I do actually keep those things handy.
Wait, you forgot the magic wand?
I have my sword behind me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start carrying a sword on stage when I speak.
That would be legendary. And
I'm actually going to do it.
Oh my God. With the Matrix coat and the sword. Legendary.
Yeah. Well, the Matrix coat was very last year. That was very 2022.
It was. Well,
let me take a minute and say hi. Hi to you. Hi to your listeners. Hello, everybody. If you're new to me, I am so grateful to be here. And I just want to say a quick prayer that I say something that you needed to hear today, see something you need to see, or shared something that leaves you better off than when you sat down. So that's my prayer that, I'm here to serve. I'm here to, bring the light.
Love it. So yes, and it will be quite the journey. For those of our regular listeners, Andrew McNamara is on a hiatus this week, so I got to hold it down myself. So you just get your one host, Mitch Jaworski, getting it done with Miss Heidi Rain, and it'll be interesting. I can promise you that because I've chatted with Heidi enough to know that any conversation with Heidi is usually an interesting one. So magic wand time. Heidi, what I honestly would like to know, and I think will be good for the listeners, is you've spoken to some before.
What did I have for lunch? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. What is the magic meat that I can eat at lunchtime that will make everything better in my life? Is it steak? Is it chicken? Is it bison? Like, how high class do I have to go?
No, what is the question?
Anywho,
yeah, that's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing. Although, come on, diet's important, but there's no
it is, especially for mental health. Like I have noticed seriously that when I, I had to do a lot of things to manage my mental health. And one of those things is my diet, which I fail at on a regular basis. Thank God I'm a little better in some of those other categories. But yeah, diet is crucial. But anyway,
True.
let me get you back.
True.
Let's go back to where you were going.
It
What's the
doesn't matter.
question?
That's still value add, and it's true because yes, I mean when I'm eating less sugar and less like super processed food, I do notice a whole difference in my overall just well-being, not just physical, also mental. So food,
Facts.
it's fuel. I mean,
Facts.
think about it, right?
Yeah.
That's the running joke. Well, not a joke, but that story about if you're driving a Ferrari, are you gonna stop and put like the 87 octane from some gas station in the middle of nowhere that has stale gas, or are you gonna put in the 93 octane that's nice and fresh?
My husband tells that story
I
every
think
time
that's
he
where I got
speaks.
it from.
It is where you got it from. You're like that old story. It's not, I don't know, it says my husband's just told it so many times. It
Damn,
sounds
and
old.
I just aged Doug. My bad. Oops.
It's like that story I heard a million times.
Yeah, it's like this awesome story I heard a bunch of times in the last couple years. All
Thank you,
right.
Doug McGirt.
Yes, we digress. No, so obviously, I'm sure we're going to talk about the summit plenty. I mean, you crushed it last year. Very impactful and insightful speech. I know it was a fan favorite. You're going to be speaking at the 2023 $100 Million Summit, which looking forward to that again. But leading up to that, like, I know kind of who you are and where you are and what you do, but sometimes the audience likes to know the why or the how. So is there any kind of like story or experience, whatever you want to share that kind of has, really led you to what you do and why you do it so well?
Oh, well, that's a big question. I mean, my husband and I, who is also at the summit and is going to be speaking a lot at the summit, Doug McGurk, he does all the transformational breakthrough processes. But he and I have been working together for many years. And I think, we teach all the time, hey, if you want to, part of the thing that we do for Dorina and Walter is we have this, another seminar that we do called Mission to Millions, which the whole premise of that is, the purpose is in your pain, find a way to serve people, find a way. So I think for most of us who can't have like a real purpose in our lives, something that we would do for free, something that gets us out of bed in the morning. That's the kind of work that I want to do. I don't want to have to kick my own butt every day to get up and serve. I want, and sometimes I still do, trust me, but I have a mission that's bigger than me. And that mission was born out of pain. And so, growing up in an abusive, alcoholic, addicted house in the country in West Virginia, right on the border of Pennsylvania, just broke, poor, lots of abuse, lots of dysfunction, lots of addiction in my family dynamic. And, I was that girl that dreamt about escaping and getting out of it someday and would see myself, I think I always wanted to, it was either going to be a therapist or a speaker. And now I kind of, as a coach, get to be a hybrid of both. But, it was no question as to what I was going to talk about. Well, what am I going to talk on? What am I going to speak on? And it was really what it's turned out to be is my own journey of recovering myself from all that abuse and addiction, and realizing that no matter what's happened to you in your life, no matter what you've been through, you can rise, you can come out on top, but there's no bypassing. If you're stuck in your life, it's usually that one of those pivot points, those lies that we keep from our childhood or incidents that happened to us. And we're like, we don't know why we're stuck, why we can't go. And I'm a master at that. Like that's my superpower, is recognizing people's patterns, seeing where they're stuck, knowing where those hiccups are and their life experiences. And I connect all the dots for people and help them kind of break free, not kind of, absolutely break free from any of those old childhood routines or patterns or old imprints that are keeping them stuck. And so that to me is true liberation. We talk about real freedom. To me, psychological freedom, mental freedom, and emotional freedom. I had financial freedom early on. Like I was one of those people that was a ladder climber. I was very successful in the corporate America sector, but I was emotionally bankrupt. I was not fulfilled. I was not happy. And no matter how much money I had, I couldn't fill that empty hole. And so when I realized, oh, I've got to go back and I've got to do that other work, true freedom really is psychological freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, so that no matter what's happening to you, you can feel abundant and wealthy all the time.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I resonate with that because, my background a bit, and I've reached a level, I reached some level of financial freedom, but then it's just like all those other things. And it's like, wow, there's a lot on the mental side that's still going on, because I think, we associate success and freedom with just, that financial side and the career side. And it's like, well, you can have a ton of money and still be in a really bad place, or really dysfunctional. So it is an interesting journey learning about oneself, when you kind of hit that level and then you're like, oh, wait, really, I'm not all that happy and what's going on right now. And then you start recognizing, I think, like you said, the superpower is recognizing patterns, right? I
Yeah.
think that's huge because it's impossible to be 100% self-aware.
Well, like really, the light can't shine on itself.
Exactly. Perfect way to put it. So
Right.
perfect analogy. And yeah, and it's something that I'm I'm gonna guess you're gonna agree. Like, it's a lifelong journey. I mean, like
Well, it's funny you
you
say that. It's funny you say that. So growing up in an addicted, abusive household, lots of us become personal development junkies. There's kind of like two roads you can come from dysfunction. You become like an achievement junkie. You're addicted to achievement, or you're addicted to self-destruction. And you might be addicted to like a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Like for me, I was a binge drinker who would get up and drink a green smoothie the next day just to like, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know what I mean?
balance.
So like, right, it's all about the balance. So I remember one time, just being on this self-development journey, and I have a library that's 20 feet high and 20 feet wide, and all the books. And my husband and I were at a seminar once, and I remember just this feeling came over me, and, taking notes, looking at my shit, looking at are we allowed to curse on the podcast?
You can say whatever
I'll
you
try
want.
not to. Okay.
This is an
Looking
adult-rated podcast.
at all my stuff and keeping my journals. And finally I looked over at Doug, who wasn't my husband at this point. He was just my boyfriend. And I looked at him and I said, hey, because he's a self-development junkie too. I said, hey, just out of curiosity, when are we done? Like when do you go, all right, I feel pretty good. I think I'm good. I'm all right. And he kind of was very confused by the question. And so he looked at me and he said, well, you're never done, because it's an ever evolving and there's always more and there's always something. So he was looking at it from the standpoint of expansiveness, more. And I was looking at it from more like, I'm okay now.
Mm,
Like completion, right?
mm.
My lens was like, when do I just get to be okay? And then I can go live my life. Like so many people that I work with are just really tired of that struggling. They don't want to have to read any more self-help books. They want to be freaking done. They just want to be like, okay and happy. And they read them for fun if they want to, but like, so I think what I've tried to do is to create systems and processes that have an end game, where
Mm.
somebody can come through one of my programs, sit with me in one of my courses, have one-on-one, do a VIP day, do whatever it is, and they're changed when they leave that session. I'm not like a person that says, let's go to therapy for 10 years. Hey, that's great. Like, let's have talks, let's do it. If you need a friend and you're going to communicate, but my programs have an end game. I am results oriented. So I'd say yes and no.
I mean,
You're never not done if you don't want to be done, but if you want to be done, I'll help you be done.
I like that, like you said, it's results oriented, results focused. I guess, maybe another way to look at it is, again, and this is me putting my own personal imprint on it. It's that there are certain, aspects or changes that are desired, right? And then you go through a process and you achieve those, let's just say. But then at that point, I also know that there's like, keeping a car running well, there's maintenance. I still have to change the oil. I still have to, and it's kind of like, I may achieve that level of I'm okay, but I know that if I then just, like, let's say, stop writing daily gratitudes or stop meditating or whatever it is, that like that okay is going to wear off, and then I'm going to need to like do some maintenance. So like that's what at least in terms of it,
No,
like
I
it's
think
never
that's a
being
great
done.
way. That's a great way to look at it. I mean, the scary truth is that a lot of people who are attracted to personal development are trauma survivors. They're looking to live a better life, be a better person. And so there's also this thing with like, healing is not a straight line. Like we're expected to go linear, like you go to first grade, second grade, third grade, but really it's cyclic, it's circular. Healing is cyclical, it's in seasons. And so no matter how healthy you get, you as a human being are always going to be using those skills to weather future winters, the things that are coming in your life. And so we always want to be gathering more tools and growing, and it's circular. Like I heal from one trauma. And then when I first started healing from my own trauma, I just wanted to be a person who was self-sabotaging and hurting myself. Right. So I wanted to heal. So I healed that. That was one layer. Great. I got sober. I've been, sober for 15 years, and that was great. But then I thought, okay, the new thing is I want to work on my trauma, because now I really want to be able to be in a marriage and have a relationship. So let me work on the same issues, but from a different angle. And then now I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And now I need to tackle those issues. So it's like, now I need to tackle those traumatic issues from this other perspective. And now I'm a mother. And now I'm a leader, and now I'm a speaker, and now I write books, so it's always a deeper level of healing. I don't know necessarily if we just are working on the same issue with no growth. It's monumental growth. So it's the depth. I always say that the Bible said that deeper depths, higher heights. So if I go deeper into my challenges, I can go deeper, I can go higher into my happiness. And so that's kind of what we do.
Makes a lot of sense. That I like. Honestly, I'm going to remember that from the Bible. So clear, it's been around for a minute, but I'm going to remember that line. I didn't think
really go around quoting the Bible, but sometimes there's some.
And that's the thing.
Good nuggets in there.
There's some wisdom in there here and there. Whether
I'm the how-to book, the original self-help book.
I mean, in a way, yes, right?
No, not in a way. No, it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the original self-help book.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and I mean. Yeah, whether someone's religious or not, I mean, there is definitely nuggets in that. And at the end of the day, I think that's what makes any kind of book good, is if you can pick up a few gems.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, obviously several in there.
Right. I was thinking, how deep do we want to go in this conversation?
I don't know how useful I'll be, but there's something you said earlier that, kind of resonated with me. And it's something you actually said to me probably, I don't know, maybe year or two ago when we were having a random conversation, and the thing about seasons, and it's just like, life, relationships, like almost everything goes through seasons, and I really resonated with the relationship piece. And I think that's something that might be lost to an extent, because there's a lot of times where people and to use a relationship as an example, go through, let's say, like a winter, and they don't look at it as a season. They look at it as, this is the end. Or, this is like, and I think that perspective of that, things go through seasons, at least for me, has been somewhat of a game changer. So just, I don't know, thought it was something we should just put out there again, because useful to me. So probably could be useful to others.
Well, again, this is biblical as well. This is not new information. It's biblical. And then self-development gurus and junkies have been teaching it, like Jim Rohn started with the lesson of the seasons, made it popular. Tony Robbins took that lesson of the seasons, and then his students took the lesson of the seasons. So it's something that's been passed down for generations, something that's taught throughout all time.
Yes.
But I think for business, it's really important as well, because we have to remember, no matter how great it is, so we go through these 4 seasons. We go through winter, which is a time where what's happening in winter? Everything's barren. Nothing is hot. Everything dies. Everything's dead. What's the goal of winter? To let things die. That's the goal. Hardest thing in the world for us to look at our business and go, what's not working? What's dead? What's dead weight? Who's dead? What things are not, what do I need to let go of in order to, it's like when you prune a rose tree, nobody wants to cut all those. You got to prune so much of that for it to come back tenfold. And with our business, we need to be doing that as well. Let things die. Also in business in a winter, it's a time of reflection. There's maybe not a lot of opportunity going on. There's a time for reflection on what's worked in the past and forethinking what's coming in the future. Spring is when we are sowing seeds in our business. We are making the videos, making the calls. For me, it's speaking, it's uploading stuff, it's shorts, it's all the things, that I get sick of myself. And I'm not a person who's like, I love listening to myself. I get so annoyed. And I just like, I'm tired. I don't want to hear myself. So I have to make myself do that because I know that if I want to have a harvest, I've got to sow the seeds in my business. But a lot of people don't see the spring because they're stuck in a bad winter. And there's all this opportunity around them, but they're like, oh, you remember when it was snowing and I couldn't get outside and I couldn't move, so they missed the chance. Summer is a chance to protect the crop you've planted. So this is when you're watering things. This is when you're picking out the weeds. This could be negativity. This could be, anything in your life that's a weed that's kind of killing the things that you planted. You've got to nurture it so that it grows. And then the fall, here's the thing. We all want a fall. I love the fall. The fall is my favorite season. So many good things in my life have happened in the month of October. I got married in the month of October, had our baby in the month of October, so many wonderful things. But we can't live in a perpetual fall. Fall is the effect. Winter, spring, and summer are the cause. So we have 3 seasons of cause and 1 season of effect. What does that tell us? We have to work 3 times harder than what we expect to receive.
This is super interesting to me because
it's the first time I ever said that. I think that's pretty good. That is a good little nugget there. I just came up with that.
Snippet, short.
As I'm talking to you. Can you edit that out for me so I can put it in my shorts? Because that's freaking good stuff right there.
Andrew, sidebar, edit that clip. That's the
right.
Highlight.
Please, Andrew, send me that little bit because honestly, that's true. There are 3 seasons of work and one of reaping, and 3 of work.
That is the intro highlight clip.
Wow, that's crazy. I need to
awesome.
remember that, and that came out of my mouth, and I need to remember that.
Write that down right now. Well, and here's the thing, though, and the reason it's it's just profound, period. But the reason it resonates so much with me is because, I was thinking about a few things when you said that. I'm thinking about, wow, you honestly need to have foresight because like you said, you're planting the seeds and you're not going to get the rewards of that until, seasons later or whatever it is, you get through the spring and then the summer, and you can see those rewards. And it's funny too, because for someone like me that, one of the struggles was too much spending time living in the future, living in the past. My focus has been on, power of now, stay in the now. Right. And then it's well, that's great, but you clearly need to have some foresight. And it's funny.
It's hard for you, Mitch, because your pattern is a skeptic.
Of course.
All right. So if you are a skeptic, it's very hard to tie your foresight into faith.
Yes. Okay. My foresight's what bad things can happen. How do I prevent
your
them
foresight
from
is prevent.
And this is also oddly what makes me a good investor.
Right.
But also never the guy that is I made 80% this year, but I'm also the guy that's I didn't blow up this year while everyone else lost money, or went out of business.
Right. You play it safe.
Yeah. It's I'm more like a gatekeeper. I keep myself and people away from the investments that go boom on them.
And what's really cool about that is that, people might say, oh, you want to get over that, Mitch, because you want to be the guy that can invest all the things. But there are people that are made this way. This is why you got to respect your nature and understand the assignment. You've been given an assignment in the world based upon your nature. And what's your assignment? Your assignment is to provide protection and safety, right? And investing. And you've been wired to do it exactly the way that you do it to help people who are also afraid navigate safely. If you were the guy that was doesn't matter, balls to the wall, do it, 10x, okay, you're not going to be helpful to the people that you're here to serve.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we don't compare ourselves to other people on this path.
100%.
I remember my whole life, one of the things that, my mom would always say to me is she didn't like how passionate I was. Should I say? Okay. I was a very passionate person. I get angry. I have all this energy, power. I'm attracted to power. Back behind me, I have a sword that's 5 feet tall. You can see these things. Okay. This is my nature. It's warrior goddess nature. Okay. And she would tell me, you got to soften that down. Nobody wants to be around that. It's too much. You're too much. You need to soften. You need to, bring it down. You're a lot, you're too strong, these kinds of things. But when I see, well, what's my assignment? When I cut off the wings and came down to earth, just like you did, and everybody does, right? We say, okay, what's my assignment here on this earth? How am I going to help people? Mine is to help people borrow my courage. People come to me for strength. They come to me for strength and courage. They come to me for strength. They come for me for insight. And so I have to maintain that, because that's what I'm here to help people find in themselves. So be careful of the people telling you, well, you got to be more like this or less like that. Do you? Not if you understand your assignment. You don't.
Love this. Yeah. I love this, because this, in recent years, I've more and more come to, I've already was like understanding myself, but then more so realizing like, all right, I'm built like this for a reason. And
absolutely,
I do things a certain way for a reason. And just because it's different than someone else doesn't mean it's wrong. And everyone else's journey is different. Everyone else's success is different. And that's why, like they always say, comparing yourself to other people is like the worst idea. And that, it always brings me back to, and to no one's surprise, of course, like it's a quote from a rap song, but J. Cole once said, "I always thought it was me against
got
the
it from
world."
the bottom. Now we hit.
No, that's Drake, but
okay,
that's good. I mean, because that is, you did, I did, we did start from the bottom, and now we're here. But no. J. Cole said, "I always thought it was me against the world, and then I realized it's just me against me."
Hello.
And
preach.
Once someone realizes it's me against me, I think, I mean, if someone hasn't had that like kind of epiphany when they do it, I felt it was life-changing for me. I mean,
well, listen, this is why I'm so excited about the summit, because so last year I did this whole warrior entrepreneur on this whole warrior thing, right? I wore the Matrix code. I came out, I was talking about the 8 things the warrior has to do or whatever. And this time I wanted to simplify it even more. So I'm thinking to myself, what do I want to bring to this community? When I come, and first of all, just being able to be a part of this community with Walter, Dorina, with you guys, Alchemist Nation. Doug has been part of this for a very long time, and I came by proxy, through Doug. And I have met some of my greatest friends in this environment. I have had some of the best experiences in this environment, certainly speaking, being able to serve, being able to challenge myself, think outside of my comfort zone, the relationships, the community, all of that has been such a beautiful experience for me. And I'm so grateful, because Walter is amazing at community, at bringing people together with a common goal. And he also is another example of a warrior, somebody who has fought on his path. And he just recently started talking a little bit more, I think, about some of the struggles that he's had along the way. But, I know at the bottom of his heart, he doesn't want other people to struggle either. That's why he's doing what he's doing. And so he has that in common. I have that in common. And when I wanted to talk about this time at the summit, is why I'm super excited, because I've like whittled it all the way down to like the simplest possible thing that somebody could walk away with, and they could remember what it is and find out if they're stuck in one of these key areas. So what's stuck? It doesn't matter if you're in your relationship, you're stuck. You can't seem to have that breakthrough where you're feeling alone and you're right next to somebody, or you want to create that relationship you can, or you're with a toxic person or somebody dysfunctional and you want to break free. And that's what I help people do, is in their toxic and dysfunctional relationships, or like you put it, complexity. But I help people that are like in, deep doo-doo in their relationships. And also, if it's business, if you have the $1 million, destiny, like this is just a part of your DNA. Like this is just who you're meant to be. You can visualize it, you can see it, but you're not seeing it, and you're watching other people and you're confused and you're frustrated. Well, I was like, what are those 3 things? And I boiled it down to 3, and I'm only teaching 3 things. I don't even know if I'm going to have a PowerPoint. It's going to be so powerful. It's just like, we're just going to riff on these 3 things. And the first thing is, you want to give a little teaser of what we're going to talk about?
You can tease. I don't know if you want to give away the whole kit and caboodle, but you can tease.
I won't give away the whole. There are 3 things. Okay. I won't give it away. I will just tell you that, okay, I won't even give you the best one. All right.
I
I'll
like
just
it.
give you one of them, but I won't even give you the
Little
best one.
appetizer.
Little appetizer. One of the things, obviously, it's like 3 enemies to defeat on the path to prosperity, right? A warrior's path to prosperity. And I mean total abundance, Mitch. I mean wealth in every area of your life. Okay.
Okay.
True riches that you are meant to have as a king or queen in this world. And that is what you are. Okay. That is absolutely what you are. So, one of the things that enemies that we have to fight off is limits, right? That's one that might be real simple. You hear that and you go, of course, your limits. You have to fight because I'm limitless, right? I've got to fight off my limits because I am a limitless human being and I have all the potential, but you don't and you're not. Okay, so I'm going to teach that a little bit differently, how to understand and see your limits and know your limits so that you can either, are they imagined limits or are they real limits? You know, sometimes our limit is our environment. It is the
Yes.
people we're around. It's the places we are. It's the situations we're in and we don't realize. And we think, well, I should be able to just overcome anything. I should just be able to, but no, you can't. You know, the only thing in nature that grows in any environment, including harsh environments, you know, the only thing really that grows in nature, despite of its environment,
Weeds.
bacteria.
Oh, even worse.
Bacteria, okay, is the
Right.
only thing that's going to grow in an environment that's not suitable for it. So you are limited by your environment. And what I help people, what I'm going to help you do, what I'm going to help people do at the seminar is to recognize those kind of quiet, secret limitations that we don't really pay attention to, and get the courage to do what you need to do to break out of those limits. It's not just the me obstacle, although that's one of the things. Other obstacles around you are real. Other limits that are there are real things, and we need to learn. You know, as much as I want to hope and pray, if I plant a willow tree, you know, in a bowl of grapes, and I'm like, yeah, I secret it, you do witchcraft on it, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm
Ain't
just gonna
getting a
like,
tree.
honey, I ain't gonna trade
Environment is
because it doesn't have the
so,
depth it needs to hold it. It doesn't have the root, it doesn't have the
yeah.
space. You know what I mean? It doesn't, and that's how we are. We're in relationships that shrink us. We're in with people that shrink us. We're in households that want to shrink us, and we're like a thoroughbred in a freaking dog pen outside. And we're a horse and we're in a dog pen. Doesn't work. I mean, you could tell I'm fired up, right? Because this is.
And that's only, and this was number 3. This wasn't even in the top 2. So, I mean,
No, this
who
isn't even the
knows
top stuff.
what
Yeah.
mind-blowing experience is about to happen. But, you know, you're so right about environment. I mean, I've learned more about that recently, and environment has such an influence on people, on what they do, how they act, and hell, even what direction their life goes. I mean, any book you read that even talks about habits, it talks about how environment is such a big piece of your habits. And that's why, you know, those lines like, you know, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I mean, those little, you know, memes and lines exist for a reason, because they have some truth to them. And, you know, part of who you
Well,
spend your
and
time
also,
with is your environment.
yeah. And also, too, like, it's okay to look at yourself as a human being. It's hard for people that are in personal development. Okay. You go to a seminar, you get pumped up. And my husband, who you know, we love so much, is an expert at making you tap into that inner resource
Oh,
that
yeah.
uncovers your limitless potential. When you're in one of his breakthroughs, you leave feeling like you have no limits. That's a great thing to feel that way. But what will happen is if we get stuck in being intoxicated with the state of total unstoppability, what we do is we don't see our own blind spots, and your limits are real. You might have like a spirit that wants to be fulfilled and wants to do this great thing and wants to, like, you have the heart to do it and you have it, but you have an intellectual limitation. You don't have the information that you need. You don't have, you know, you have, or you have all the information, but you don't have the emotional. You have an emotional limitation. And limitation lives in these different areas that are sneaky, where we believe like, well, this should be enough to overcome it. But the truth is any one of these areas will kill a dream faster than anything else. I could
Yeah.
have all the willpower in the world, but not the intellectual fortitude, the steps to know, or the strategy to know how to make it happen. And so when you understand, where all the pockets are. It's like where the power leaks are. What's what we call them, the power leaks, where I have all this potential, I have all this personal power, but then I have all these like leaks. And actually, instead of limits for the talk, we're going to call them leaks.
I actually like that because I was like thinking about that. I'm like, it's true. Like, it's almost like I have this like, hose that all the energy flows through, but there's a bunch of little holes in it and energy is leaking out as it goes through. And this is why, like, I'll, for instance, for me, it's like more mental and emotional. It's like, and I'll procrastinate. Why? Because if I procrastinate, I won't get the thing done that gets me to the success that I'm dragging my feet on because of whatever it is, fear of success, or thinking not worthy of it, or whatever it is. As opposed to like you said, the flip side where it might be intellectual, where it's just like I don't have the information or the skill or whatever, but you can, you have to acquire it. But for some reason,
Thank you. So now we know leaks came out of this like little workshop. These
boom, making
word shop
presentations better, one podcast at a time.
Loving it.
That was awesome. I like it. We just improved upon the awesomeness that will be Heidi Rain's presentation at the summit. And when you said cheers, I can't wait to get my 2023 summit cup.
I love it.
You had mentioned I might not even have a PowerPoint. All I was thinking, I'm like, she should literally just have 3 slides, and the slide should just have the one word on it. And then when she's done with that word, the next word, and then obviously one of them will just say leaks. That'd be so epic. Just a slide that says leaks.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a giant word with 3 slides.
I'm super jealous. I unfortunately cannot get away with that with the speech I have to do, but
because I'm going to say, because I trained under John Maxwell. I feel like he's one of the best speakers in the world. And he would always say, you have to keep your cookies on the low shelf so everybody can get some. Like, meaning you got to keep your stuff so simple.
Yes.
And every great speaker speaks at like the best speakers in the world speak at a 4th grade level.
Yes. Oh no, you have to. Hell, I thought it was 5th, but 4th works too.
It's 4th.
This is 100% true. That it holds true even with like writing, because obviously, I've written books, and when I'm writing, you will get a bigger audience if you write at a 4th or 5th grade level than if you try.
But it's so hard for you because you're one of the smartest people I know.
I appreciate that.
Like your mind is not a 4th grade level. Your mind is like Harvard, like house.
I don't know about Harvard, but
no, it is. You think in complexities. You know why? Because you're an INTP, and so am I. So stop it. I already know this personality type is brilliant.
It's funny.
I'm actually an ENTP, not an INTP, but
who, me?
Me.
You? Yeah. Well, it's
funny. I was right in the middle.
I don't want to go too far off the beaten path, but I recently took all those again as a process of working with somebody, and I had some changes in results, and I got to remember, I think I went from INTP to IN. I don't remember. One of the letters changed, but I found it comical because like I was so in the middle on so many of the scales that it didn't really like affect me, because I was like, oh, so instead of being 52-48, I flipped to 52-48 the other way, like in terms of like that percentage weighting. So
yeah.
But those are, I think honestly, like information is useful, but it's also not gospel. So like these tests are great. And I like the insight they give me, but I also have learned that like it doesn't define me exclusively. It's like, oh, sweet, this says I'm this type of person, so that's who I am. And it's like, well, no.
Well, yeah, labels are really dangerous. I mean, I always say it because I invented my own personality test on my site for the work that I do with people. And I always say to them, like, it's people, you need a category to identify with so that you can identify with it long enough to get a base understanding so that you can lose that label.
Yes.
Right. So it's kind of like just, I get it like this, but a lot of people get hooked in. It's like the same thing with, we all get hooked into the roles we're supposed to play. What's a husband? What's a wife? What's a mom? What's a dad? What's a sister? What's an entrepreneur? I mean, what's an INTP? What's an Enneagram 8? I mean, we lock ourselves into these things. And I think my whole plan for myself is to shed more and more of that. as I become more and more of who I am, because what's your real identity? If you, all of us are taking on all these identities. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a boss bitch, babe. I'm all these things, right? Like, what am I? But really, underneath all that, what is the truth? What's your true essence? You're none of those things. I would look. We could go sit with Yoda in a cave and we could riff on this for a while, but that's the kind of conversation that I like to have. This is what I think about. Like,
Yeah. Well, I
what is it
mean,
all really?
when you take it down to, or I don't know, either up or down to that level, whichever direction
Right?
makes
Exactly.
sense.
Boom.
It's it's like, what am I? And it's like, if it's like, what, well, and technically it's a word, so that makes it a label. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I'm not labeling myself at anything, it's like, and at the end of the day, what am I? I'm energy.
Yeah, I am that I am.
Yeah, I
I
am.
am that I am, and that can mean a lot of different things too.
Yeah. It's, like you said, you can go deep down the rabbit hole. But
Yeah,
yeah.
we limit ourselves
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing
by
about
our.
labels. We can use labels as a positive. We can use labels as a negative. A lot of people use labels as a limiting thing, and a lot of people use labels as an empowering thing. And honestly, everybody probably does some of both.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
and I think that, even you talked about like recognizing who you are, and you kind of used me as an example and talked about the way I go about things, the way I invest. And it's like, well, I've kind of labeled myself in terms of like, saying like, yeah, I'm not the home run guy with investments. I'm the guy that'll just slap singles all day long until I get to the Hall of Fame. I mean, in a way that's somewhat limiting, because I'm saying like, I can't hit home runs. I just hit singles. But the reality is, no, it's just a way for me to really just
Babe, you're
identify
in the Hall of
myself.
Fame. At the end of the day,
You're at the Hall of Fame.
you're at the Hall of Fame. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I think about it too, is like, it's not a limitation because it's the end result. The end result is the same.
Yes.
Greatness is the end result. How we get there is a matter of preference and personality.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I think at the end of the day, it's not always what you use, it's how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's heck. If I could remember the quote perfectly, I'd spit it off, but we don't need a second rap quote from me. But, I just remember at the end of it, he says, it's, something, he just says, it's how it's done is how he wraps up the line. And it's true, because you mentioned it earlier between like Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, and a lot of things that are, used to help empower people have been around for hundreds, thousands, even longer, number of years. And it's just a matter of it being done differently or presented
Yeah,
differently.
resonant.
Yeah.
So one person can say something, and I have those teachers that I know I've heard it. I've heard it a million times, but when it came out of their mouth, it landed. It landed for the first time. I
Exactly.
was like, "Oh my God!" It's either the way they said it, or I was in a mood when they said it. I don't know,
Yep.
but yeah, exactly. There's nothing really new. There's just teachers that are gifted to teach it, and people that have the ears to hear it. And
I
not
think,
everybody has the same ears to hear from the same people.
yes, yes. And I think this is more profound than people might realize, because, if you think about, like, people talk about it all the time, especially in the investment space, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like everybody that's an entrepreneur has read that book. But I can't tell you how many people, including myself and Walter, basically have said, yeah, I wish I would have acted on that book when I first read it. But it just, and I read that book when I was like 22, 23 years old. And it was like, oh, it's a cool book. Oh, and then it just wasn't the right time. It just didn't grab me. It didn't connect, whatever it was. And then I read it again in my early 30s, and I was like, holy shit. Why didn't I 10 years ago I read this book? I lost 10 years. Like, so I think that's a very good point, because sometimes it's, just a matter of the right time, right person, and right kind of like presentation of it.
Well, and I was listening. One of the teachers that I really love is Myron Golden. Do you know who that
Okay.
is?
I'm
Okay.
familiar with the name, don't know too much of the work.
So and listen, I'm not saying I co-sign every single thing he says. There's some stuff he says that I think is like pretty controversial, but he was talking about, he's a pastor, so he interprets a lot of things, but he's a speaker trainer. He does, the funnel hack. He speaks at that event
Okay.
with, what's that guy? What's
Russell
that guy's
Brunson.
name? Russell Brunson. He's like his writing, he speaks at all his events and everything. And
Nice.
anyway, he's charging like 150 grand a year for coaching. And whatever. He knows what he's talking about. But he was like, a lot of people are thinking to themselves, like I know in our space, right? Like in speaker space or book or author space, we're all like, yeah, I just want 1 million people. I want 1 million followers. I want all these people to come. I want people to I want to go viral. I want to get all these views. And he's like, you better pray instead for that, for more preparation. Because the worst thing that could happen is, and he didn't say it like this, but this is how I interpreted it. The worst thing that could happen is you're not aligned with divine timing and it comes too soon and you're not ready. And people find out you're full of shit, or they feel you're not ready, or you don't have what you needed. It doesn't, and then the chance is gone. So better to get the information or get the break in divine time. When you have money to invest and you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, when you're out of the dysfunction and you're able to think about other things other than what's going on at home. You know what I mean? So there's never, I wish I would have done this sooner.
Yeah. Which is funny because that's like, I was notorious at I wish I would have done this sooner, or like kind of regretting, like, why couldn't this happen sooner? And I've also in recent years more so gotten comfortable in the, I wasn't ready for it then.
No, you weren't. And we need to really understand that. So if we look at a baby, the only time we really know this is during pregnancy. Any human being could look at anything that's pregnant and not want it to come earlier than it's supposed to, right? I don't care if it's a dog, a cat, or a human. True. I don't care what it is. There's no person that's like, oh God, I want that baby tomorrow instead of 9 months. They know, you got to wait, man. The eyelashes are growing. You want that arm to come through. You want that genitalia to make its way and decide, you want all the things to happen. And that's the most miraculous thing there is. And that's where everything is. In birth, we see it in nature everywhere. And guess what? Wealth is a birth process. Relationships are a birth process. Wild. That's divine time. So we really have to get that.
That is wild because and then from every day after birth, it's didn't happen soon enough, or it needs to happen now.
Right. I need to get to second grade. I need to go to college. I need to get my boobs in for people. Our 9-year-old, not to embarrass her, but our 9-year-old's like wanted to read, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, talking about, going through puberty and wondering when that's going to happen. I'm like, girl,
slow down.
Divine time.
Enjoy the ride. Life
divine time. I would not be the container I am today for my clients if I hadn't have been spending all that time in preparation. Growing, learning, sharpening my sword, being prosperous where I'm planted.
Including the literal sword behind you.
Yes.
I'm going to be disappointed if the sword isn't on stage at the summit.
I am going to get one to bring with me because it's going to be part of because the weapon against the enemy is the sword of truth.
I like it.
So that's what I'm going to carry is the sword of truth, where I'm going to cut through the bullshit and I'm going to talk about what the truth really is and how to find that truth. Not my truth, your truth.
Yeah.
The truth.
Well, everyone's heard it here first at the 100 Million Summit, first weekend in November 2023.
Come get your picture with the sword.
The sword of truth will be out, and you will potentially have a chance of getting a picture with the sword of truth. Outside of the summit, which if people miss it, sad face for you, because not only will Heidi be crushing it, as she mentioned, her wonderful husband, Doug, will be helping us all break through as well. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you and all the things?
Yeah, well, they can go to HeidiRain.com and kind of see what's happening over there. Or if people are just curious about hey, I am in a toxic relationship, or I am in this relationship, it's not working for me, they can go over to YouTube and type in Heidi Rain. And I have about 500 videos that will help them on their journey to sanity and happiness. So yeah, lots of free resources. I have a podcast that's called Addiction and Codependency Breakthrough. But if they search Heidi Rain, all that stuff should come up.
Perfect. And it's Heidi Rain.
Rain. RAIN, not as in rain like a queen.
No,
although I should just change that because
the water is
rain as in healing rain.
We're raining over you. But with the wet rain, not the rain over me like the Who song. So awesome stuff.
Can't wait to see you.
I can't wait to see you. It's always a pleasure. I got the pleasure of seeing Doug recently at a local event, but it's always better when the dynamic duo is in full force. So it's
Well, I'm
going to be,
hoping to dance. I'm hoping we get to dance.
I mean, that'll happen.
I'm holding out hope that you and I will be on a dance floor somewhere at the same time.
I'm pretty sure it'll happen. I know usually was a
Great.
Saturday night to have the little dance party, the little cocktail hour.
Sweet.
So I'll be out there even if I'm on one leg. We'll see. My knees being a little iffy right now, but I'll be good to
Aw.
go.
All
So
right. Well, we'll we'll race you up if we have to, and just kind of like
yes,
you can lean on me, and we'll just like
I can just I can
wobble.
stand on one leg. I can do the stanky leg.
Just do the stanky leg.
I got one dance move. No, it's gonna be fun. I'm sure we'll be able to get out and boogie, and yeah, hope everyone else can make it. And for those that are, we look forward to seeing you. Heidi, thank you so much for joining me on this episode
Yes.
and,
Pleasure.
dropping, I think, multiple nuggets. I know I grabbed quite a few myself, which is awesome because it seems like every time we talk, I walk away with a nugget or two, which
Very good. Me
is
too. Me too.
sweet.
See, guess what, Mitch? Iron sharpens iron.
This is true. Heidi, once again, thank you so much for joining me. And we look forward to seeing you at the 100 Millionaire Summit. And if you're not there, then what are you doing?
All
We'll see you on the
right.
next episode.
Bye.